Welcome back, everybody, to the Prospect Cup. We've got the Western Division match here in round 4 for y'all, and this is probably the spiciest matchup that's been on stream yet here in the Prospect Cup. The two teams currently undefeated, tied for first over in the Western Division. Regen versus Lunaris coming at you in just a second. Once again, it's Possible and LaFawn, and LaFawn, I'm stoked for this. This should be a great match.
Super excited as well because this is, as you said, the matchup of the best two teams by record, 3-0 each here. So now they go head to head to see who loses their undefeated streak. And as you said, fighting for first overall in the groups. And this has all the hallmarks of a really, really good game.
Oh yeah, for sure. And let's pull up the rosters. Let's talk about them for a second because there are players on both these teams that are worth noting. I gotta look at Lunaris first off. Tuna, Light, Pure, Bolby, Noctis, and Sluggo. Pure and Bolby are two tanks I certainly recognize. Bolby, I believe, used to go by Best Bolby, if this is the same person, which I think it is. His Reinhardt was nasty once upon a time, and his Orisa is nothing to scoff at, to be sure.
And on Regen's side, you've got a whole host of players here. Cool ABC leading off on the DPS, but there's also Chopper Ship, Lava, Magic Mate Ball, and CJ.
Great name. I always love seeing Magic Mate Ball. He's such a great name then for them.
Terrific.
We're going to be heading right in. We're jumping on straight to Ilios here.
Yep, right away. The first map of this match, Paul, and one thing I want to see, we are going to start off on well, so it is going to be a little bit more chill here in terms of what we're going to see compared to the rest of the series, right? I wouldn't say the expectations of well are obviously playing around that map hazard. So let's say we'll get a flavor of what these teams are going to run. Is it going to be the double shield? Is it going to be the dive composition? But beyond that, we'll have to see how that bleeds into the rest of the series. But for the moment, at least, the posturing here is for Lunaris double shield, for their counterpart in Regen dives. However, here we get set to go. The teams leaving their spawn in just a moment. All we're underway.
Let's get straight down into it. We got a difference of opinion here on well. It's one that well is known to play host to, sure, in the double shield versus the dive. Basically, we're looking at Noctis and Sluggo. Also, as well as Light. Are any of those people going to go down real quick once that dive comes in? Already, Chopper finding himself toward the back line. Just harassing, but Noctis is right there. That's not who he's looking for. Light, however, is going to find who he is looking for. Magic Mate Ball, great start there. Now much less mobility available for the attacking team. They're not going to be able to get out of this dive, and that means that Lunaris can just punish him.
It wasn't a very clean dive setup from Regen, and Lunaris actually punishes heavily for it. We saw Light there. He sees Cool ABC staring him down on the Tracer, but takes his time, takes out the front line instead, and so that means that the dive is ineffective, and that's going to build towards that first percentage here for Lunaris. They're in pretty good position, especially here now with Tuna up to 70% on the blade. He's going to have this ult well ahead of anyone else in the lobby.
All he has to do is survive. Ooh, Immortality Field barely keeping Noctis and Bolby alive there, but now it's gone. Trades on the main tanks, though. Tuna, rather, getting caught out in the room. Cool ABC kind of running rampant. Nobody's even looking at him. He's just free-firing. Kinetic Grasp will slow him down, but it will not stop him. And it seems like Regen are going to get their flip.
And interestingly enough, it didn't feel like Lunaris played around their advantage in the Dragon Blade at all. They just sort of went in for a brawl instead of trying to build up toward the Dragon Blade and then move on from there. And as a result, it is actually going to be Regen who starts to build up to their resources first. Chopper has a Dragon Blade now, and from a defensive position, he's going to have time to set up here. Cool ABC also likely looking for a Pulse Bomb onto the back line here ahead of the start of this fight.
Rally available, though, for the attacking team of Lunaris. There's that Pulse Bomb. It's a 1-for-1 trade, though. Chopper's down before he has Blade, and now Tuna's going to bring out one of his own, just cleaning up the tank, making sure that there's no way you can stick on the objective if you are Lunaris. Maybe even giving him more trouble than it's worth, though. And actually, Cool ABC is there to peel.
Lunaris may actually end up needing to commit more than they want to here in terms of ult economies. The respawns are going to come back in a moment. With Cool ABC going down, this is going to be a reset for Regen. Paul, again, the back and forth nature of this fight has been no team has taken full control of the point yet. It's been flipped back and forth. And with Tuna using the blade here, and of course the rally being committed as well, Chopper should have some room to work. The only thing I have a question is are they going to be able to burst through the damage throughput of the amplification matrix as well as the supercharge?
Mortality is going to be important to keep an eye on too. Light's just wondering where everyone is right now. He's going to be able to find Magic Mayfall just floating in the air. Set that kill up beautifully. Forging Gravitic Flux. Chopper's got the blade out. Not able to do a whole lot with it, but he will get two crucial picks, and Cool ABC will clean up one. These are bloody fights. It's just a tank versus Cool ABC. He's got 1 health, but he'll be able to cap the point.
Now, again, this is a hot potato of a point coming in round 1 of our match in this head-to-head. Coming in now, though, the Gravitic Flux was committed from Pure, so Bolby is going to have to, alongside the Bob in very aggressively. They want to use the damage potential very early on.
Finding a nice dynamite. A lot of damage out of that one. Ooh, and actually the Bob just gets moved into the pit there. Good work from Magic Mayfall, and he's got the sound barrier to boot. Keep his team alive, keep them on the offensive. Even though Lava's down, it's still the advantage over to Regen right now. Chopper's got to be a little bit careful. Doesn't want to face check the blade coming out from Tuna right now, but Tuna's just getting kited around. Not able to find value whatsoever. Now, low health, his deflect is going to wear away, and he just has to head on out.
Yeah, that is the first fight defense win we've seen on this map, and that means that we're setting Regen at last fight territory. Bolby switches over to the Wrecking Balls. They want to get a contest here at the moment. Rally in play here. There is the sustain available for Lunaris, but they're going for last fight. Good early pick off to start the fight off.
Pulse bomb from Cool ABC whip. This Coalescence is all that Regen have to work with, and it's mostly just a stalling ultimate at this point. They're not able to find an elimination with it. Lava's going to have that Primal Rage. Needs to try and throw someone into the objective, but he's going to have to run away from that amplification matrix, and CJ has just been left completely alone. Lava now has no one to heal him, and Lunaris not quite done yet. A desperate blade here from Chopper. He finds front, but the rest is so hard to come across. 4 health just wasn't enough for him to get the necessary damage done. Oh, that boop into the pit nearly there from Magic Mayfall, but it's Lunaris with control right now.
This is still not over, though, because Magic Mayfall's contesting. The respawns are coming back. There's still advantage here, possibly for Regen.
ABC nearly has that pulse bomb, and 2 kills already locked in for Regen as their reinforcements come onto the objective. They got 5 people on point. They just need to flip it, and they should be able to take round 1 here. There's that pulse bomb out. Doesn't seem to catch much, but Regen will get more than enough done regardless. 199. This match has started out as close as we could hope.
And I mean, that is the back and forth nature of control taken and dialed all the way up to 11 between these squads. It's all aggression from both these teams, Paul, and I really like the advantage being taken by both Regen and Lunaris. They're isolating a single target and then going after it. We're seeing a dive-esque composition kind of being in response. The double shield gets taken away by Lunaris for a moment as they couldn't quite get their rotations down. And so in the end, we are going to see the that heading into Ruins now. An evolution from Regen as they're going to draw even with Lunaris on that double shield.
Double shield mirror now for these teams. Difference in hit scan though. Ashe versus the Widowmaker. Cool ABC will have more pressure on the fights, more pressure on the front line, but Light's pick potential is nothing to ignore.
You can see Light already setting up for that high ground pick, looking for the Widowmaker pop-off potential, as you say, but here,
Cool ABC still under pressure, has to play around that pillar, and when he pokes his head out, Light will take it off. Now he's just easily poking there. The experimental barrier will temporarily stop him, but Ship has to pull double duty right now. Immortality field, when it expires, means that Ship will be so vulnerable. Chop will get to the back and find Light. Now he's got to deal with this 1v1 though, and Tuna's finding the better end of it thus far. And that's Lunaris taking the point.
I mean, that's the power of the Widowmaker to open all up, right? It's one pick and you're operating at a 5v6. Even to get rid of the Widowmaker, you have to send the target after it. So Chopper, goes to deal with Light, but by that time that happens, it's a 4v5 on the point. And that's just clean up for Lunaris as they take the first point capture percentage here. And now Light has the defensive positioning. He is going to be really difficult to approach. And so the sight lines are all Light's to control right now.
Ooh. Lugo just throwing out that implication matrix early. CJ's going to answer, but in response, it's not nearly as good. Already both DPS gone for Regen. They don't have a way to really pressure through the amplification matrix that CJ just threw out, and thus they have to back up.
I suppose the one, it's a trade in terms of ult economy, but here in the double shield, I mean, we're pretty even in terms of economy, Paul. The difference here is that the rally will be available at the start of this next fight for Noctis. So Chopper's gonna have a much harder time, obviously, on the engage. Here comes the Dragon. Here comes the Supercharger.
Nice halt there, but it's a little delayed. Tuna coming back in. We'll find more than enough value regardless. Chops up 3. That's an easy fight. Jim investing the Gravitic Flux at the end of it. Chopper's not done. He's got a blade of his own. And he actually finds more than enough value. It's just Light now who has to try and find some miracles. And Chopper ain't going to let it happen.
Nope, Lava goes down to Sluggo, but it's... Oh, Sluggo back and forth. Heroics?
No. Ship's got a shield. He'll be able to take the point. Although I say that, Noctis is back. He's got a rally. Can just kind of dive around the pillar, use it for cover. Bob has to be invested onto the objective as well as Regen's own rally. So now they finally take that point, but it was more costly than they wanted. Gravitic Flux coming back into this too. Ship takes a healthy chunk of damage, or unhealthy rather, at the very beginning of that fight. And both teams just refusing to give up presents.
No, that's going to be the reset now. They've got high ground control. They're going continuing to this fight, Paul.
Ooh, cool ABC getting caught. Beautiful accretion from Pure to set that up. Colby's gone though, so now Pure has to act as effectively the main tank himself. And going into double shield, he just doesn't have the necessary pressure to make it happen.
Is still the slow retreat now actually from, well, the slow bait here from Lunaris is they're trying to find a re-entry. Noctis over the top with the whip shot. Finds Act. They get some progress here, Paul, but they still haven't quite got a position that they need.
Lunaris are unrelenting, but they need to actually find an opening here. Well, Mayfall just going into the backline. Lava's gone too. When your support's on the flank, you don't have healings for your tanks. Triple at least gets it back. Still a pretty even fight on the objective. Colby's got to be a little bit careful, but he's got his brig to keep him alive, and especially with that rally, Lunaris is going to move on to the objective. Cool ABC on a Widow of his own, but not able to find the necessary angles.
I mean, ooh, peeks around the corner at the last moment, takes a body shot here. Their Light comes in with the advantage, Paul. This is going to flip back over eventually to a Regen, but slowly, painfully, Regen has drawn even in percentage, so we are close to that last fight territory on both sides of the board here in round 2. And walking into this next fight, we're looking at, I think, perhaps trying to go for the damage throughput of the blade here, coupled with the supercharger. If you can get those one-shot kills, if Chopper can get into the back line and find value with the blade, you're looking for that to be the closing out of the round.
Amplification matrix. Gonna force back the members of Lunaris. Superchargers traded here on the point. Everybody is going to be popping the enemy, but nobody more than Chopper. As long as he can get to him, gets kited out a little bit, swoops away too, lands on the Light and will take down one for his trouble. Looking for the Baptiste too, but Sluggo's just going to turn around and shut him down. But can't play Chopper's head out with you with Light. That flick was so important for Cool ABC to hit. Tuna will get shut down during his blade though, and as messy as this fight is, Regen are able to get their flip.
But they were committing a ton of resources to a fight they had lost, and so now on the recontest, they're not going to have anything except the rally if Noctis gets back to point. This is looking pretty disastrous actually for Lunaris. Last fight territory, and with advantage here in this last fight, you have to say that Regen is looking pretty confident.
Regen only the Gravitic Flux to play with though in the early stages of this fight. Noctis is going to have that rally too, as long as he doesn't get eliminated immediately. There it is, rally being popped. Light's not going to benefit from it though. Immediately taken out by his opposition, and now Cool ABC has complete control. He'll get caught in the backline. Gravitic Flux only finding one. Not the ideal value here for Ship. He's going to get back onto the objective now and try to 1v1 the Brig, but the Brig can heal herself. Ship can't, and the rest of Lunaris benefit because of it. They'll get their flip. I don't think anybody's going to get to the objective, no, and we've got another 199 as we exit Ruins and head on to the Lighthouse.
I mean, that was such a contested last fight. You're walking in with Rally versus the Gravitic Flux. Rally, though, a little bit more effective at sustain, especially the Gravitic Flux only gets one. Weirdly, though, the first pick was gotten by Regen, Paul, so as close as you like in that last fight. But we head here in to round number 3, and we're going to see a return to dive actually from Regen after the heroics on Well. And Chopper and Cool ABC playing a very aggressive Tracer Genji, and it got them a ton of value.
Go back to what was working is the name of the game here for Regen. Magic Maypal just going to speed out of spawn, I believe. He's going to go back over to that brig, or at least that's what it was looking like. No, actually, I think he's staying on it. Yeah, so just the Lucio Moira, the full all-in dive here for Regen.
Looking for that advantage. Like, Chopper has already got 12% of his play. He's found that entry that he's looking for.
Lava getting pretty low. That's not the entry Lava was wanting whatsoever. Light is getting pressured out pretty heavily here. Chopper and Ship on a beautiful duo dive there, and they're actually gonna capitalize off it too. They get Tuna, and now they can just go to the objective. Dolby's barely gonna make it there in time to get the actual contest, so no percentage gain, but still player advantage heavily in Regen's favor. Once Slug goes down, the tanks have no way to stay on this objective.
Yeah, that's going to be the reset and first capture here from Regen. Actually, a switch of note. Light is going over to the McCree, that mid-range brawler. Obviously, with the stun, can make Tracer's life pretty difficult. So let's play a little bit more passively from here on out. Well, in the next real team fight, anyway.
Cool ABC more so making life difficult right now.
The one thing to note here from Lunaris is they've got a midway comp, right? They're running sort of Brawl, like they're running the D.Va Orisa. They don't really have as much pressure as they would with the double shield, so it's going to be a lot of peel on Purist's hands. You can see already forcing Cool ABC out, but they need to find more value than this.
What a beautiful stick! Tuna didn't expect Cool ABC to double back like that. They thought they'd done enough to pressure out the Tracer, but now it's a full advantage over to Regen. They're just going to bait out the amplification matrix and walk away from that fight pretty easily. CJ in a bit of trouble. Will pop the coalescence right as he goes down, so he's not going to be able to have that ultimate speed Regen in this fight. Chopper has his blade, but there's nothing important, so it's just Lava who has to pull out this primal and invest fully into this fight. It was expensive, but Regen keep it alive.
They still have resources, though, in this next fight. They've got the blade, of course, which they've just been holding for a significant amount of time. But they'll also have a defensive ability in the sound barrier, and they have the self-destruct. So while that was an expensive fight for them, yes, they still have the tools they need here if they play this correctly. Playing around the blade here and the rally from Noctis is going to be a big deal.
Tuna bringing out his blade first. Magic Maypal goes down. No sound barrier available. Which means that it's not too bad, not too hard to chop the defending team to pieces. Regen hardly even put up a fight there.
The Nano when you've got a supercharger, right? Instantly killing the dash slash throughput. They're going to get the stall to 99, but it's not going to matter. And a really clean retake actually from Lunaris. However, you do have the sound barrier with Magic Maypal going down so quickly. You will have the sound barrier to actually protect Chopper on the way in. So you could just dump everything here to get value out of the DPS ultimates in this fight from Regen. Trying to get into last fight territory.
What's to worry about here for Chopper, though? The rally coming out immediately. Magic Maypal, he used the sound barrier and only caught himself somehow up on the high ground, I think. That is a huge whiff for Regen. Lava's gone now. Chopper can't even pull his blade out this fight. Sure, he'll take Tuna down, but I mean, it's just him now basically in a 1v6. CJ's there to heal him and keep him alive for a while, but there's no chance for Regen there.
No, this is a really tough place to be actually now for Regen. They needed that fight win. They needed to be able to withstand with the sound barrier, because coming into this next fight now, Lunaris are back at advantage. While they've got the amplification matrix, they've got the self-destruct, so they've got the damage throughput to buy time for the Dragon Blade and Supercharger to get online. Chopper needs to go now, and they need to dance around the immortality field on their way in.
Chopper waiting to pull out the blade. He'll go up to the high ground and whip that one onto the board. Double kill on the self-destruct, but it's not enough. Not this time around. Chopper will shut it down. 96% waiting in the wings for Regen to come back onto the objective. Pure's just trying to stall out as long as he can, but he won't be able to dip his toes on the point as long as necessary. And Regen, it was scrappy, it was contested, sure, and actually the contestation will go on even longer here as stalls come in from Lunaris, but they're not going to be able to get much done. No eliminations in sight for them, and thus Regen are going to take map number 1. nearly as close as it can be, but Regen get it done.
The one thing I want to highlight is it's easy to see these plays that are being made as mistakes, but I want to flip the coin and say it's actually great play from the opposition that's forcing those mistakes. We're going to see the play of the game from a Genji coming in here in just a moment to supercharge into Dragon Blade. But I think what's happening is both these teams are so good. They're forcing each other to make mistakes, and they're taking advantage off of that. So I'm very excited to see, now that we head to a non-brawl map, so we had a little bit away from the hyper aggressive control, certainly, to a more steady map. I'm interested to see if that continues to happen, if those mistakes are forced rather than made.
Sure, much more structured, methodical play coming out generally when we move on to a hybrid map, but it's worth noting that like both these teams a lot of the time were choosing to go for these aggressive plays, right? Like there was that one fight on Ruins of Ilios that just went on and on and on and had like picks back and forth, and neither team really took an advantage continually, and they were just staring each other down the entire time, waiting for somebody to make a mistake. I'm so excited we get to keep going in this series. I mean, one map down, hopefully 4 more to go.
And as a reminder for where these teams kind of sit right now and why they're so good, both these teams are undefeated so far. So we're battling out for, well, one team to continue their streak of match wins. And so far, Regen with the advantage off the back of that dive play. We've seen a ton of double shield get played here with just this past weekend in Overwatch League with the North American side of things. But dive is still pretty strong, as we see with the APAC region in Overwatch League. And to see sort of a difference of opinion here within this match in our Prospect Cup is also super fascinating to me, Paul, because I think there is merit to both styles, right? You can play a lot more steady with the double shield. You can play a little bit slower, a little bit more methodically. But with the dive, you're finding a lot more aggression and forcing those mistakes, as I said. So it's active versus reactive, and so far active has taken the lead.
Well, and let's talk about dive in relation to map that we are going on to next. Lunaris have selected to take us to Eichenwald, which seems like an interesting choice for me. First and third point, definitely much better for the double shield that they've been choosing to run thus far, right? But if I'm thinking Eichenwald second, I'm thinking Magic Mate Ball getting a bunch of boops off the map potentially once we get to the bridge. I'm thinking high ground control pretty easily given over to a dive composition rather than double shield, right? So there's an asterisk on this map for me.
I mean, certainly, but if you, the counterpoint to that, seeing as you're so good on first and third, you stall a ton of time off there. And all right, so what if they speed run through second? Because you've got those 2 points where you're heavily favored, right? So I think that's kind of, even assuming that they get past first and steamroll second, which is an assumption to make to begin with. I think this is a calculated risk that makes a ton of sense considering how Lunaris played, and especially the style that they want to play in the double shield.
And I mean, Light was pretty nuts on their on the Widowmaker, right? So you get a Widow set up here, whether you're running double shield or dive on defense second. Those are some nasty sight lines that a Widowmaker can play with, and I think it's safe to say that Light was getting the better end of that more often than Cool ABC was in the hit scan 1v1, we'll say. But I mean, it's not only hit scans, unfortunately, for Lunaris that are playing here today. It's team versus team, and they're going to have to come back into this. We're going to go on to Eichenwald momentarily.
And, one thing we haven't really gotten a chance to just talk a whole lot about it has been the evolution of Eichenwald and kind of how the map has changed over time in terms of how teams approach it. Even more so, I think, than a lot of the other maps we've seen in Overwatch, right? There was one time where you would almost always play the Pharah, especially around Clock Tower on first. But I think that's kind of changed into more spam through, the Ashe, through the at one point the Echo as well, as she was kind of strong during that 1 month or so when she was on release. But with Lunaris attacking first, they won't get to show us the double shield if they even elect to do so on right off the rip. They're going to have to push into it. So I think this is going to show more about Regen's flexibility and decision-making here on Eichenwald first than we kind of expect, which is good for us as the audience, because we'll get to see, can they flex over to something that's not quite as hyper-aggressive as that as the dive early in this map.
Well, and I think it's safe to say we certainly don't expect Regen to have a flaw when it comes to playing double shield. I mean, we saw them play it on Ruins, and it was still 100 to 99. It was still pretty much as close as can be. Only a few key mistakes kept them out from just locking up Ilios in a 2-0. You're gonna come out on the defense now. Cool ABC running that Echo on this first point. Chopper actually going to be coming out on the Ashe, it seems.
So this is sort of a reversal of roles. Cool ABC was playing primarily the hit scan in map number 1, but heading over to the projectile here of Echo, Chopper taking that hit scan role.
Well, and I gotta ask you a question here, Lafon. Do you think that the Echo will stick around after point A? Because if not, you would expect like Genji to come out, right? But then, you know, Cool ABC would have to swap over to the hit scan. It'd be a double swap instead of a single one. In theory.
Yeah, I think they're betting kind of like all of their. I think their thought process here is that Cool ABC's Echo is better than the risk. Well, no, the risk to have the better player on Echo in the event that you give up second is not quite as much as just getting the better player out early anyway.
Fair enough here. Not too much changing for Lunaris on their attack. Nasty ult there forces a very early immortality field coming out of Sluggo, and he's gonna go down immediately after that. Turns out if you're not immortal, you are, in fact, mortal. And that's how English and things both work. Chopper gonna find out he's mortal himself. ABC on a flank here, but needs to find more value onto the squishies. CJ completely pinned down here, just trying to jump out of danger. Just barely able to do so. Regen, that was a rough first fight, but they will be able to take it.
Magic 8-Ball there, and Lava coming in extremely clutch, alongside CJ as well, in that fight for Regen, allowing them to hold pretty aggressively. And interestingly enough, the Zen is actually outpacing a Genji in terms of ult generation, which is not something you see very much anymore, actually. So credit to the supports there for doing such a great job of staying alive and helping Regen close out that fight. Heading into this next engagement, though, you're kind of looking for that burst potential of the DPS on that entry. Here's that amplification matrix. It's going to buy them a ton of time here as...
Oh no. Tuna and a lot of actually Lunaris poke their head around the corner while
they're continuing to go.
They're still going into this fight. They've got an amplification matrix of their own. Bob's gonna come out with Chopper, and now he's looking for the flank, helping Cool ABC too, who's got the hit online. Gonna come for Brigitte, knows his team needs to stick onto the objective, and as long as they've got the healing, the Gravitic Flux will do the rest.
It was an extremely expensive fight, though, for the defense. They use everything except the Supercharger and Transcendence. Wait, Tuna switches off the Genji.
Goes over the Tracer. Interesting.
Goes over the Tracer. I didn't see if he used Blade in that last fight or not, but that's certainly something that's
he was the one who went down immediately.
That's certainly going to be something that is not going to be in the bank for Lunaris. Lunaris do force that fight, though, and they do get a ton of resources out, so they are actually at advantage here. Supercharger, and sorry, Gravitic Flux online now for
yet another nasty ult. Bulby's so low! Has to pop the Fortify immediately. The rally's gonna come out. Bob thrown in pretty aggressively. Still Supercharger available for Lava, though, and Light already lost the big Omnic Bundler. A 1v1 over on the side between Light and Cool ABC. Light will eventually win that one. Despite the close range advantage, should be going over the Echo, and slowly but surely, Lunaris are finding their picks and their advantages there. They had to throw a lot into that fight, but it means they'll get point A, and that's worth it.
They will get that point A, and I mean, it comes down to the fact that Transcendence was kind of forced out from Magic 8-Ball, despite the Gravitic Flux being stunned up. So Pure, even though it doesn't actually activate the Gravitic Flux fully, still forces that support ultimate. Now heading into that phase, this is the question we asked: are they going to switch? No, it's going to be the Echo and Ashe continuing. Only Magic 8-Ball switch up. Here's the Gravitic Supercharger as they just run forward through this damage.
Supercharger's already gone, though. Amplification Matrix makes it pretty trivial to eliminate that one, and CJ will pick up 2 final blows off of the back of it onto the tanks. This payload's hardly moved out the gate, and now the high ground control has gone over to Regen. This is exactly where you want to hold.
The switch here, yeah, he's going to go over to the Genji here. Uses the Pulse Bomb as he went down. And so now they're back to the starting 6 that they had in terms of character select. But operating from a net negative, as Cool ABC over the top with full aggressive.
Cool ABC over the top with a bullet in his brain. Gravitic Flux gonna come out. Immortality Field answers that one though. So now just a quick disengage from Regen. They don't have Bob though. They don't have a way to come back in and punish the fact that the Immortality Field was just used, and now their tanks are stuck onto the low ground. Immortality Field has to be used from Regen to get their tanks away from the Amplification Matrix. Light's gonna get that health back too, so he can just kite around Magic 8 Ball. Maybe not forever. Magic 8 Ball was a fun 1v1 you took, but meanwhile, the rest of your team was up on cart dying.
That's not the trade you really want to make. Magic 8 Ball's kind of just chilling behind too. Is he?
He really likes the basement there. It's cool down there, you know? It's summer. Things are getting hot.
Well, there is going to be a last fight contester. Cool MC does have the duplicate. Medic blocks right out of spawn.
Yep, nope, immediately thrown down, forcing that Immortality Field. Supercharger in a pretty safe spot. Nobody's able to actually eliminate that, so Regen get a bunch of damage early in this fight, but not nearly enough. Rally thrown out late from Magic 8 Ball, but with this blade, it's not too difficult to clean up the stragglers on the objective. Tuna's just got to get on top of him. Doesn't even need to, really. The rest of his team will do more than enough work.
They are going to head now into third. So far, the map has kind of been slow on first, quick on second. We're back to third. Cool ABC is actually going to go over to his signature May now. And so the first swap from him on here on third. There is really not much available to the defense aside from the Gravitic Flux coming online. We're going to need to see some miraculous setup now if Regen wants to bleed time off the clock, because resources galore available to Lunaris as they head around the final corner.
His Matrix 2 just pops Cool ABC. Chip will join him in the grave. It's not going well here for Regen on the defense, and they're going to be met with a mob as soon as they feel like it's still so much available. Gravitic Flux coming out, Supercharger going down. And Bob, just to make sure that this 2-minute time bank gets safely into the pocket of Lunaris.
No contest there on third point from Regen, and first point was looking a little dicey, but after that it was all Lunaris and Regen as they head to their attacker, staring down a time bank that on Eichenwald is a very respectable time indeed. And it really comes down to the fact that dumping everything to Regen bet on the fact they could hold at gates on second, dumped everything into that fight, and lost it. So they just gave up third without any contest as they didn't have anything to really help them there. So now for their offense, it's really going to come down to this first fight. If they get a clean first fight, they set themselves up for success throughout the later stage of this map. And I'm looking for an aggressive early push from Regen.
Well, it seems like Chopper is on the same page as you are, LaFon, switching over to the Genji now, pairing with the Echo. So you've kind of got, I mean, pretty much dive DPS with a double shield to boot on it. Magic 8 Ball at the very least, this Nano could go on to several targets, and it would still work out pretty well depending on, you know, what ultimates are available and such.
Certainly. You can pair it with the Genji, you can pair it with the Echo, you can pair it with the Sigma. There's all sorts of, no shortage.
And it's fine. Oh, well, yeah, we got baited. Shouldn't have talked about attacker spawns, LaFon. We know better than that. Magic 8 Ball going over to Brig. Seems like it's just going to be pretty standard now for Regen.
To be honest, though, that previous comp was very greedy. This is a little bit safer. And Chopper, though, not had to take a moment there, not to take his head taken off. And again, that early entry from Regen. Looking pretty strong. They haven't had to force any defensive cooldowns quite yet.
Ooh, and Noct is gone. Chopper finds the assassination he needed. Light's gonna get a pick of his own. One healer down for both teams, and Chopper's just not at the right angle right now to assist the rest of his team. He'll there we go. He'll finally get back onto Sluggo, and slowly but surely, actually, somehow Regen have weathered the storm and found themselves alone on point A.
I'm pretty sure that was Cool ABC and Magic 8 Ball who kind of were the heroes of there. Cool ABC hits a fire dynamite and puts so much pressure on the front line. And that allows the tanks to really step in and do a little bit of work in the final blow department. So Regen, that was that very aggressive first fight that we needed to see from them. And they unlock point A very swiftly, allowing themselves to start working here on the streets phase.
Not a lot to work with, though, for them. Coming up to a couple of ultimates, but none already quite yet. So this first fight just needs to be another dry one, and they're walking straight into an amplification matrix. from the high ground. Immortality Field's going to keep Lava alive long enough to where he can put down his barrier. The cart just slowly inching forward, but not very consistently. Only when somebody from Regen can actually get to the objective. There's an amplification matrix for the attackers, so you force Lunaris back from the edge of the high ground there. So payload's going to keep on going.
That amplification matrix was just to buy positioning, so this blade, who knows looking for it.
Blade yet. He's baited out the immortality field. If he can come back in with full health, he will be able to destroy, but no dice. Chopper will shut him down, read him like a book, and now Lunaris are in trouble with the ADCs on the flank. Chopper's got the blade out. There's not much hope for Lunaris, rather, to keep that hold. They're going to get one more fight on point B.
All about Chopper did use the blade at the end there, actually, so that's one tool they won't have here. Oh, Chopper needs to be very, very careful. Looking for that kill. Oh, wait, this is looking really good, actually, for Regen again.
Yeah, Chopper's already gone. Chopper, well, actually, he can't find that pick onto Light. Light, you gotta be careful. He didn't win the 1v1 against Magic 8-Ball last time, and this time he's gotta rally. Coach Gun's only gonna do so much. Your Bob thrown in, actually pretty perfect in place to help the team out. Maybe he was back in that one, but Magic 8-Ball just comes up with the rally and keeps his team alive. And Tuna is dumped on while he's got the blade out. Not able to do anything. Shit gets hold up the map just barely, but the rest of his team will cap point B.
Isn't anything sadder than a Dragon Blade that's caught in a Gravitic Flux? Actually, yes. A Dragon Blade that's hit by an accretion and then everyone focuses them. That's sadder.
A Dragon Blade caught in a Gravitic Flux feels like a cartoon where like the small kid is kept at arm's length from the bigger one and just swinging, you know?
But as we head here into third phase now, oh, Pure needs to stay alive.
He's going to be able to. Amplification Matrix still applying pressure. A nasty Gravitic Flux. No, oh, Immortality Field, it was available, so everyone will be alive for Regen as they look to keep the pressure forward rather than being pressed back. Tuna goes down to the Dynamite. Regen, they bend, but they do not break.
They take away a ton of resources from Lunaris as well. Regen are looking to be in a very similar position as Lunaris was on their offense. Sluggo is going to need to find some massive value with this Amplification Matrix.
Out. Chopper's got the blade, he's in the back line, and there's nothing keeping you alive once that Immortality Field is gone. Chopper slices them to bits in an even better time for Regen on Eichenwald.
Just, if you can do it, I can do it. Much better from Regen, and they head to their defense, and now we're starting to see where perhaps a difference in map style can come to a point. Regen had a better defensive hold on first. They took about 2 minutes off the clock, which coincidentally is exactly how much time Lunaris has for their second run through here.
And about how much time that Regen has over Lunaris as well. So that point A is quintessential, not only in that first round, but also here as we go into time bank. You know, if you're able to take 2 minutes off the clock before Lunaris can cap point A, that's the whole time bank gone.
Yeah, and you think about how quickly the fight came through for Regen on their attack run, right? It was basically an instant cap, despite losing their, despite about making the fight about even in terms of the picks, but certainly a much more aggressive style from Regen paying dividends. And here again, it comes down to that first fight. We saw Chopper go in aggressively to get these picks. They're actually going to start with the Genji Ashe. Nothing, no difference here. And Paul, I'm interested to see how that first fight goes, because I think that is again a key to this match.
3, 2, 1.
Tuna and Light need to come up with the goods. Oh, Chopper. Chopper being so sneaky. Oh, depending on how this rotation goes, it could be bad for him, but oh, no, he's in the perfect position. Oh, he gets spotted. Okay, Bulby did the double check. He made sure to clear his corners, and Chopper's not going to be able to find anything sneaky now. Yeah,
he's kind of caught behind in no man's land, Paul, but certainly going to have to not in too much danger yet.
A quick rotation onto the objective from Lunaris. They're trying to take advantage of where Chopper is, but now Chopper's going to be back into this fight. The Immortality Field already gone from CJ. Gives Lunaris the forward momentum, but they're going to lose it if they lose Pure and their Immortality Field themselves. Both tanks gone for the defense, so now you're just looking at DPS to pop off. Healer's still available though for Regen. CJ trying to take this 1v1 against Tuna, who just can't find the value. Forced back, but Sluggo wins the 1v1 on his end too. 2 ticks already taken here for Lunaris as they look to clean it up. And with only CJ and Chopper available, it seems that they'll be able to do so.
Yeah, it's still, though, not much time remaining, Paul. This is still very disastrous if you consider a last fight territory.
Ooh, the rally has to be tough to block this. CJ's still alive. Nobody's actually eliminated him. He's pumping heals through lava on the objective and now trying to take out Sluggo. Finally, Sluggo will go for the 1v1, say, get the heck off the point. But no, an immortality field. Now Chopper's back with a blade. Regen, they're not done quite yet. They're going to come back into this, stall as much time at the very least. And maybe even get the hold.
They're not done yet. They're Amplification Matrix. They're getting the kills, and they're staying alive.
It does not feel like Regen should have been allowed back in there.
No, it really, really doesn't. And the full reset comes through. Oh, 4% difference between the capture and a hold here. And 10 seconds. You're a pop-off potential from Tuna. The Supercharger Blade. He's gone!
Nobody gets there. Nobody gets to the objective. Once Tuna was gone, that was pretty much it.
Score.
Tragedy strikes here for Lunaris on their map pick. They get 96.3%, but now they're going to have to hold for 4 minutes on point A.
Is not, especially considering the fight that happened the first time around for Regen, how swiftly they dispatched Lunaris. They basically just walked in and took positioning away. If you're Lunaris, you gotta play a lot safer, force those cooldowns out early. The defensive cooldowns, especially. I'm thinking, the immortality field, and then go from there, because allowing Chopper to get that first pick off just cannot happen again.
Chopper, Cool, ABC, even Ship, honestly, have been monstrous thus far.
Hello.
And gotta love it. Any one of them could pop off and a single pick, like you were saying, Lafon, opens it up. You have to play this defense perfectly if you are Lunaris.
3, 2, 1.
And will they get the chance to is the question, because it just all really depends. This really all depends also on the fact that Regen kind of makes a mistake as well, right? So as the gates open up, as they walk forward, first shield down, there's the Hall.
Through. Still gonna survive it though, Regen. And they can position around the corner. Nasty Dynamite though, gonna keep Regen at bay. Chopper harassing Tuna, but he won't be able to find that elimination. Gotta be careful himself. Third of his team's already gone. Lunaris will at least get their first fight as long as they don't club from here. Going forward aggressively, and they will be able to clean it up.
That is what they needed. They needed that first dynamic play. They needed the Dynamite, in this case, getting the advantage, forcing poor positioning from Regen, and that starts the first fight of many that they need to win out. But here in this next point, you've got the Amplification Matrix already online on the offense, and critically the Blade. So though Sluggo has one in return, you have to play this perfectly. It is such an uphill battle for Lunaris.
Already have the Blade. That's crazy. CJ going down though, Chopper won't use it. Oh, and he was 1% from it. So he didn't.
Sluggo's down, no!
Now Tuna is gonna have one of his own. 3 gone though. That's a bit dicey here. For Lunaris, they've still got their tanks on the objective and Noctis to keep them alive, but with closer respawns, Regen can push forward here pretty quick.
They can, and they are going to go there. There's the Blade already for Chopper.
Oh, Blade coming out, catches 1, make it 2, both tanks gone. The rest of Lunaris forced out. They're being held pretty much at the choke. Tuna's gonna try and contest. Gets halted himself. Early immortality field and a desperate Blade from Tuna, supported by this rally. Only CJ will be found though. Noctis going down himself. No healing remaining for Lunaris. Now it's just a matter of time before Regen get map 2 and put themselves on match point.
Is as decisive as it gets, though we went 2 extra innings. Regen in control on their offense. And it really felt like Chopper was a huge difference maker on the Genji call. Comes in, the ult generation spectacular, the pick potential fantastic. And as a result, Regen take the map and put themselves on match point.
You see that cheeky little sidestep dodge in midair from Ship there to avoid the accretion? He knew. He
Yep.
knew what Pure was looking for. He's not letting that happen. Gravitic Flux, nasty from the off tank on Regen. And honestly, Regen, you can tell why they're undefeated.
You absolutely can. They're looking better and better too, right? The mistakes that we kind of saw on Control, perhaps you have to say they were forced on Control due to the nature of the map. But here, I think aside from the streets phase in that second point, or sorry, the third point rather, when they just gave up without a fight, I think aside from that, Eichenwald was very much theirs, no question, especially on offense.
Well, and third point, they lost. I believe it was Kool-Aid. No, it was Chopper early, right? So they didn't even get to take a fight until the very end of the map. So, there's not much you can do once that happens. And once in a while, everybody's going to lose somebody early. But right now, Regen certainly getting the better end of those trades. Lunaris, I can't say that they're doing anything explicitly wrong here. It just feels like Regen are finding all the openings necessary.
I think the difference here is that Regen is the one making decisions, right? They're the ones that are setting the tempo of play. It's coming in, right? Cool ABC almost always has that first dynamite in close. Chopper, obviously, we talked up the pick potential that was happening there. And Tuna has not been a slouch on the counter against you by any stretch. I just think that Regen's executing first. And in a game as fast-paced as Overwatch, that first pick, that first play is almost always the better one, even if it's not the most optimal play, because of how how strong that pick potential is. So a credit to Regen for, I think, playing a little bit faster than Lunaris, and has obviously put them ahead in the series.
Yeah, and I want to talk about the DPS for Regen, right? Because I really feel like the three most standout players for me on Regen, right? I mean, not to say that Lava, Magic, Maypal, and CJ aren't doing pretty dang well themselves, but Ship on the off tank and the DPS of Cool ABC and Chopper are unrelenting right now. You were talking about how Cool ABC is always getting the first dynamites. Chopper's normally the first one to a blade, normally the first one in the backline. He's going for aggressive plays. He's going for sneaky little flanks like we saw at the beginning of Eichenwald, right? And if you're Lunaris, how do you look to shut these guys down?
Well, I mean, that micro play that you mentioned of Chopper's, taking that early flank on Eichenwald is, I think, a microcosm of the entire match. The fact that he's able to get out alive speaks to the difference. I think it's those small moments there that if you're Lunaris, you need to shut down, because this game isn't being ripped apart on grand fight scale. It's not like Lunaris is never in a fight, or is in a one-to-one just worse in any way. I don't think that's the case. I think Lunaris has stood up to Regen pretty closely. The difference has been in those moments where you can take advantage for yourself. That's not coming through. And I think in a play like that where Chopper goes for that aggressive flank, if you're a Lunaris, you have to shut it down.
I'm sorry, I was distracted a little bit. Magic Maypal is having a little bit fun in the match chat right now, but we're going on to Rialto next.
Yep.
Fun. Rialto has been the map choice from Lunaris. And keep in mind, Eichenwald was their map choice as well, right? So I am curious as to why we see Rialto over any of the other maps in our pool. Rialto, a very flat map. Some people say, oh, Genji's not as good here. I think we saw in the Overwatch League this weekend. Not so much the case, right? You can definitely still run Genji. I think you can pretty much run Genji on any map right now with just how strong he is.
That's a take that I don't necessarily agree with, that Genji is not good here on Rialto. I'm not sure. I still think there's a lot of
take that some people make occasionally, not much at this time.
Well, the reason why I took up that point is because I wanted to approach sort of why we're seeing Genji played so much, and why it has really been a catalyst, I think, for why Regen's up 2-0. In that it puts, like, with how quick the fan of blades, the alternate fire of the shurikens is, with how quick it is and how much damage it does two things. It obviously builds blade, so that forces defensive cooldowns, but also the amount of damage throughput that comes in is nothing to scoff at. We're seeing in a lot of these fights, especially Sluggo, I think, on the Baptiste, has forced has forced to heal a lot more. He can't play more of an aggressive style in terms of the Baptiste, dealing damage to the opposition. Whereas CJ we've seen, tried to duel out a couple of times. And so heading into this next map, the fact that Genji can, play a little bit more, I think you definitely have to play a little differently than you would on a map that has a map like Eichenwalde, for example, where you can do more flanks. I think you're going to play a little bit closer to the front line. That being said, I still think that Genji operates just as well there as he does on Eichenwalde. And so we're going to see more of the same, and that is a difference maker. The Genji's building resources, and more importantly, I think, stealing resources away from the opposing team.
Yes. That actually stealing resources is exactly what I was going to transition into, LaFon. I'm glad we're sharing that same brain cell as we normally do, because I kind of wanted to talk about, while we are, loading into Rialto here, the difference between CJ and Sluggo, and I don't feel like they've been doing anything different in terms of order of operations, right? But CJ has just a little bit more breathing room because Tuna isn't applying, or Tuna and Light, I should say, aren't applying as much pressure to the enemy backline as Chopper and Cool ABC are. We saw Tuna take some 1v1s. CJ was more than confident enough to throw down immortality fields and pretty much take on Tuna head to head.
Yeah.
And you gotta love that kind of pure power coming out of your flex main support, whatever you want to call it. It's Zen Baptiste.
Certainly. And I mean, I think to draw back to Overwatch League just for a second, because they are the highest level of play, so they give us an insight. They give us an insight into like what we can kind of expect in terms of these duels. And we saw, from the San Francisco Shock too, that they're having their Baptiste play a more aggressive damage style, right? They have their Baptiste put pressure on the DPS, make it more difficult for them rather than focus specifically on healing. So the fact that CJ can do that here, I think also makes a big difference, because I should also say it also puts a lot of pressure on the tanks too, because they're absorbing some of that damage as well. And it's a trickle-down effect. What starts at the top ends at the bottom, and it's helping Regen win a fair few fights.
Regen gonna look to win just a few more as we head out onto Rialto. They just have to win this map to claim sole possession of first place in the Western Division. Light didn't even know that Chopper was on the flank. He was waiting so patiently over by the fridge, and he finds the first pick beautifully. Now Regen can look to get aggressive and force Lunaris to play in this tiny little room.
And that immortality field was committed already, so you can see that is some aggressive situation from Regen.
Regen not gonna get over excited though. Just playing with time. They know that all they have to do to start is stall out. Chopper, beautiful tech to just juggle himself over. Can't quite find the hit onto Light and connect onto that elimination. First in this fight, it's actually Lava going down. Now that payload pressure starts to look a little rough for Regen. It's just Shift who's going to be sitting on the objective. Cool ABC needs to find a pick in the backline sooner rather than later, and it's just not happening right now. He's gonna throw out the bomb, but immediately get jumped by Tuna. Good work from him. Chopper's trying to answer back, but Regen just aren't as coalesced as they need to be right now.
Trash damage is that if you don't find eliminations off of it, you just build support ultimates up for the opposing team. And that happens exactly there. Sluggo's already up to 50% on his next amplification matrix. And this is going to help, I think, capture the first point here for...
Played into the back line. Chopper finds one, but Tuna's is better. It's even trades thus far. So close right now, but just not enough pressure for Lunaris to actually get into this. Rally coming out from Noctis to try and keep Volby on the front line. Light just getting 1v1 yet again. Magic Mateball not letting Light play the game very much. Light's on this angle. He doesn't have too much to work with from here. Lunaris is stalled yet again.
And though with Chopper going down, this is go time for Lunaris.
Pretty much whiffs there from Fury. Not able to find any value, but Shift is isolated just enough to where he can be taken down. Good work from Lunaris, and they'll get point A without too much difficulty. About 4 minutes in their time back now.
Yeah, no clean fights here for Regen, and they, they're unable to really clear those last couple of kills. Well played by Light, actually, to bait Magic Mateball into trying to take the 1v1 rather than clear the card. So that's going to open up the objective, and now heading on to the second phase of Rialto. We're at about even, and looking for this. Whoa!
Well, not so even now. Tuna already gone. Not just gonna join them, and Lunaris are forced back pretty quickly. Cheap fight too for Regen as they're going to set themselves up on the objective now. And they have this high ground too to work with.
Yeah, this is one of the most difficult points in all of Overwatch to really approach. And you said cheap fights. It's downright free for them, actually, as they don't use anything to retake that point. But that being said, there is still... That's an early supercharger here. Just trying to put pressure off high ground.
It's still what? Well, it's still a Dragon Blade, I'll tell you that much. Chopper holding on to it right now. Chip's just gonna take out Pure early here. Caught him outside the Immortality field. And Regen are playing around this high ground beautifully, just juggling themselves in and out of combat. Cool ABC is uncontested. So both tank ults invested, but a fight won, that's more than worth it. Oh, like, you get caught here. You cannot get taken out. Chopper, same goes for you here, buddy. Okay, he'll limp away.
Really like the discipline there from Lunaris, though, Paul. They don't actually use anything in response to the... Oh, okay, well, keep my light. They don't use anything in response to the ult dump that Regen actually kind of comes in with. So we are now going to head into an even fight, and this is where you start to have to throw things away if you're a Lunaris. You have to go in with everything just to break this defensive positioning, the defensive high ground that Regen currently contains.
How do you even get over this bridge? Matrix out, applying so much pressure already that Dynamite takes Tuna down to such low health, and it'll tick him all the way to death. Bob's still available here, Blade waiting in the wings from Chopper. There goes Bob, disrupting already. Dynamite goes down into the entirety of Lunaris. The payload is inching forward, sure, but even with this supercharger on the board, Lunaris is struggling to get the pick. There's one. Magic Mayfall finally going down here. Good block onto the Dynamite 2 from here. Probably didn't mean to do that one, but it's very important that he did. Chopper's actually going for a bit of a Hail Mary on this Blade. He can't even find the single pick of the Baptiste to pair with it, though.
Oh, man. What a rough Blade to take there. And that is now the hardest point of the map captured, I think, for Lunaris. Heading into third. I mean, there's not a lot of time left, but it is enough to work with here if you are Lunaris. And with Tuna having the Blade, you still have resources and tools to work with. Even if you only use the Blade to pull out, the supercharger that's coming online and the rally, I think you're more than happy with that, which then allows the Gravitic Flux set up to actually close out the fight.
From Magic Mayfall, Tuna's gonna have to go straight into it with the Blade. Finds one onto CJ, can't quite connect onto the second though. The armor is just too much and he gets juggled around. Good work from Regen, they'll get this on. Chip had to use that Gravitic Flux too, but 2 minutes remaining, that's more than worth.
Yeah, that is definitely worth it. And now your light's going to switch back over to the Ash. So switching up now to mirror out completely. There's Lunaris against Regen here. And they've allowed Regen to get back into the economy. Here's another early supercharger.
Supercharger is going to keep Lunaris at bay and even help Cool ABC find that pick on the light. Chopper's in a little bit of trouble here, but even if he went down, I mean, there's not really a way into this fight for Lunaris. They forced them all, sure, but they don't really get much out of it.
Aggressive Chopper's playing that even when it looks like it might be even, Chopper and Magic Mayfall are playing up to each other, Paul. They're playing so aggressively, and there isn't really anything that Lunaris can do to kind of keep themselves even. You're looking here if you are Lunaris, that this is your real important fight here. With a minute left on the clock, you have to win this fight out cleanly.
Somehow mitigate Chopper's Blade. Amplification Matrix keeping Lunaris at bay too. They have to just walk away from the payload. They were given control of it, but now they gotta go into a tiny little choke point. Mortality field already invested, and Chopper's gonna tear through him. I mean, you can tell why he's called Chopper. He's got the blade out, and he's chopping him to bits right now.
40 seconds remaining. And the Gravitic Flux is going to be key in this last fight alongside the rally. Tuna is going to have to pull some heroics here with this Dragon Blade. They're going to have to go with the Supercharger, try and burn through just the sheer health pool advantage that the defense is going to have, Paul. An early Gravitic Flux to keep everyone at bay.
Well, of course, the Immortality field too. Now you're walking forward completely vulnerable. Bulby's already gone. Chopper's getting pocketed in the backline, and Rally is now available for Magic Mayfall. No reason to hold on to this one. Might as well just throw it on out. There it is. Magic Mayfall is now completely unafraid. Tuna's got to play it out. Doesn't even matter. He'll just be eliminated immediately as Regen looks to hold here. Strong on third. Gravitic Flux from Cure. Lunaris in it. It's not quite over as of yet. Amplification Matrix goes down, but Bob cleans up CJ in the backline. That's most of the healing gone. Magic Mayfall is the rest of it out the window. Sluggo's gonna go down though. It's not quite over yet. Regen still fighting tooth and nail. Cool ABC! He just lets Bob do all the work there and cleans up his counterpart on the enemy team. He's still gonna fight Light. What is that headshot on the Tuna? That was disgusting. And it helps Cool ABC and the rest of Regen clean up the map. Well, the round.
Shot.
I'll get ahead of myself.
What an insane shot from Cool ABC there.
Oh, that was nasty.
I was sick. Tuna wasn't expecting his head to be taken off quite that quickly, I don't think. But let's dial it back a little bit. We're not done yet. There is still an attack run for Regen.
Yeah,
you gotta
their
say
attacks have looked even better than their defenses.
This is true. The moments, though, that have to be... I think there are still moments here that we can kind of take and say, well, Lunaris is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. There's still a very real contest available on their defense here. I think specifically, playing around Light's Widowmaker, as it seems to be the opening gambit from the defensive squad, would make a ton of sense, right? Have him play to that pick potential while just trying to brawl out on the front line. Especially because Cool ABC hasn't chosen to take that 1v1 very frequently, right? He's tried to play more of a brawl Ashe than trying to contest the long-range hit scan.
Sure. And I mean, I said Regen's defense has been even better than their offense, but honestly, that defense was clinical, especially with how they were able to hold on second. Now they're gonna come on out, roll out on their attack. Nothing changing up for the offense. They are pretty confident that they can put this map and this series away with what they've been running the whole time.
Just looking, each team just sort of sizing each other up, seeing what they can find. Regen sail wide as do the Dynamite.
Chopper going up and harassing the flank. Doesn't seem like Lunaris wants to overcommit to that high ground. The corner, much better to hold at. Tuna, you gotta be careful, man. Okay, he's good. Chopper, not so much. Gonna be the Genji to go down first here, and Tuna's pretty content with that. He'll just get out and let this stall Regen.
And now this is actually a pretty good place for this card to be, because it's gonna give a very good line of sight to the Widowmaker of Light, while not putting him in a ton of danger, right? We'll have to send out someone quite aggressively to deal with him, likely Chopper. Actually, they're going for a double hit scan look here. No Genji available. And this is just a fight that's feeding ults away to the defense here, right? You're just buying time until you can reset. Light playing so much more aggressive, looking for a pickoff here. And it's a very...
He's gonna swap. He's nearly at Bob. I don't want him to. Okay.
No, he's gonna play double hit scan here, I think. They're going for that. They're going for the duel. Chopper, perhaps looking for the grapple shot going over the top. But...
Ooh. You're right now coming around over the top. Amplification matrix both thrown down onto the cart. Immortality field coming out. Tuna is kept at bay by it. He's not able to get back and remove it, so his blade is pretty dull there. Still looking to capitalize. A little bit of an awkward 1v1. Cool ABC just dancing around. He says, I don't need to kill you. My team will do it for me. And you know what? Seems like he's right. Light just has to battle.
Gets one exit frag onto Chopper on his way out, but what an amusing turn of events. The Widowmaker the Ashe just walking past the Widowmaker. There is gonna get a contest here. Oh, the flank.
Oh, what a nasty one at that. Finds Cool ABC. Magic Mayfall sees him though, and Light, that is a 1v1 he's taken a few times, and it's not gone well for him thus far. Noctis will help him out this time though. Magic Mayfall coming up that stairwell, not going to be able to get on top of Light. And with the rally armor stacked on Lunaris, they're going to reclaim control.
This double hit scan look from Regen is one that is incredibly, I think greedy from their perspective. They're looking for those pickoffs, but if they don't get those pickoffs, right, if they're out of if Chopper can't get a line of sight or the tank line just puts shields up in the way, you're never going to win a brawl. Cool ABC is not gonna deal a similar amount of damage as Tuna is in close. You get the dynamite, but that's it. Whereas Tuna is gonna consistently pump that damage and via shuriken. So you're going to need an early pickoff here if you want the double hit scan to work.
Treasure helps you get that. Tuna gone. There's that early pick you were hoping for, LaFawn. Immortality Field's going to keep Regen on the offensive too. Immortality Field forced by the defense, but not nearly as potent. Amplification Matrix is just going to help you clean that one up for Regen, and they're going to be able to cruise on to the end of the game.
I mean, despite the fact that Chopper got a couple of pickoffs there, I kind of want to see the Genji return here in the second phase, because it was actually Cool ABC who picks off that first kill. It's tough to know how much damage Chopper is doing in the middle of the fight, but it doesn't feel to be nearly as efficient as the Genji look has been. So, that being said, we're going into a pretty dry fight here, at least in the early part of it. No one... Oh,
not fully dry. Bob was a little long there. Not gonna lie, that is not the ideal placement for the big Onyx Bob. Bob's gonna try and force this anyways, but Amplification Matrix, I mean, you know, that's a fight we've told time and time again. It generally doesn't go well for Team Dry pushing into it. Copper, pulls his head away at the wrong time, but the rest of his team will be able to lock down the target.
They should be. Well, they're committing.
Chip only really catches the one in his gravitic flux, though. A little ambitious there from Regen. Chopper has a decent angle here,
No one
but
can
not
hide
ideal.
from my sight.
Going to commit the info side. They want to know all that information, but it's going to be mirrored. So both teams having full vision on each other.
Nasty dynamite there from Cool ABC. Gravitic flux going forward only catches on a CJ, but it'll force the immortality field all the same. High ground available for Lunaris on the defense. Luna, actually, Dragon Blade 2. Not really much to counteract that, and even less now that Magic Mateball is gone. It's a 1v1 trade, but if Tuna pulls out the blade, it's not gonna feel like it. Amplification Matrix goes out. Tuna, he's got the blade out now. Finds only the one final blow, but it's more than enough.
Cool ABC sends himself into the grave here as they reset. Not a lot of time left on the cart, and Regen is a healthy distance away from that second checkpoint. Chopper now going to switch over to the Genji. A much safer pick, I think, here, but running out of time. You've got one good fight here, and high ground control is all Lunaris.
Need to build Blaze fast. He's done it before. Can do it again. Rally gonna help Regen push on forward and force back those of Lunaris. The top is already gone. Bob going in, but it just gets stuck in the corner. It doesn't actually take control of the high ground. It's gonna go down to the dynamite. Still wants to trade, but not so much as Magic Mateball goes down. Not so much your healing calm. Lunaris can get so aggressive now, especially that the immortality field is gone. Flux out, but it's not nearly enough. It only forces the amplification, or the immortality field rather, the amplification matrices to stare at each other. And Lunaris backing up, they're seeing space, but it's only so that they can come back with reinforcements. A stun out of the Gravitic Flux. Ship, I believe, got the accretion there necessary. Tuna is getting kited around with the blade. Not able to find anything. Damage on the ship would be enough for him to get that pick. Oh, and Cool ABC's punished on the flank. Nobody gets to the cart. And Lunaris aren't quite done with this series yet.
Take their advantage and run away with it. They play in close to their strengths. They keep the Genji all game long. And it really is the difference maker, right? The tanks are unable to really play up, and that means that Light has so much more space to work, finding value, closing out the map. We are headed to our fourth map here, Paul, because
Don't say
two.
final. Don't say final.
I don't. Not yet. Not yet. We don't know.
Well, it might be a map, but it's definitely not forcibly a final map there. But Lunaris do take that defense. Their defense, very strong, but I think, you know, you touched on it over and over and over again. A lot of it comes down to, I just don't think double hit scan is really the play, especially on Rialto A.
double hit scan works is if Chopper gets the first pick every fight, or nearly every fight, right? You need that dynamic play from the Widowmaker, and unfortunately, the zoning play that comes in makes that so difficult. And I think even that, the fact that Tuna is able to play Genji, you have to be consistently conscious of where he is on the map, because he can come around behind you, he can reflect your shots. There's a bunch of ways he can kind of deal with it. He's not a hard counter necessarily, but he makes your life very difficult. And a life that's difficult with Widowmaker means she's not finding those pickoffs. So I think a strong showing from Lunaris, and entirely a continuation of the storyline we've seen so far, where that damage throughput on the front line has been the big difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're running a Widowmaker, it has a lot less damage on the front line than a Genji. Pretty simple math there, folks, especially when, you're running it into double shield, right? Maybe if it was like dive, right? You can shoot the Winston, shoot the Diva, but, double shield, Widowmaker. Yeah. It doesn't really go well into Orisa Sigma, especially in a very narrow map like Rialto, right? Maybe if it was like Junkertown or something, I'd be like, yeah, run that double hit scan, because point A is very good for it. Not so much Rialto. That's going to cost Regen one map. Still a long way to go for Lunaris if they want to pull off this reverse sweep and claim full control over first place in our Western Division, but it's not out of the realm of possibility now.
No, and we're actually going to head to Assault as our next map type, and that's going to be Temple of Anubis, actually.
Yeah.
As Regen picked that map, and I think this is perhaps a chance to see a return to the. I would expect to continue to see that double shield look, especially
on defense.
Especially on defense, yes. But I think also the Genji can do so much with the even when Genji was not particularly great, which he is now, but even then he still found some usage on Temple of Anubis once in a while. So certainly very high expectations of seeing him here in this next map.
I would be shocked if Chopper came out on anything other than the Genji. Tuna has been pretty much one-tricking it the entire time, right? Yeah. So I think it's safe to say Tuna is going to be sticking on that Genji.
I've been impressed actually with the kind of adaptation Tuna has kind of done on the Genji gameplay. Right, we kind of said we were kind of hyping Chopper up in the first two maps, and rightfully so. He's playing a much more aggressive style, playing for those flanks, playing for those pickoffs, right? But I think Tuna kind of adapted throughout the game. But it's like, all right, I can't really take those wild flanks as Regen tends to shut them down. But if I can just beat out the front line with the support of my tanks, then hey, I'll let Light deal with that long range threat, and I'll kind of come in and play that close gameplay. And I think that has really made a difference for Lunaris, especially in that last map. The adaptation has made a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, kudos to Tuna, right? I mean, we've been talking all about Chopper, all about Cool ABC pretty much the whole time. Tuna had a little bit rough of a time, especially on map 2. I felt Eichenwald, he got caught out quite a bit. Light too. I feel like now that the DPS for Lunaris have pulled back a little bit, they're not getting so ambitious. They're not getting picked as often. And if you're not getting picked as a DPS player, you're doing something right. Yeah. The next step is to find picks yourself, and I mean, they haven't been slouching on that either.
No, that's been consistent throughout the entire game. And I think one thing too, I just continue touching on the DPS of Lunaris and kind of how they played. Light has done a good job of when he's played. He's straddled that line of the aggressive Widow just fine enough. He's pulled Magic 8 Ball out of position a couple of times actually in sort of that Widow duel, and that's built space for the rest of his team to kind of find value.
Now we head into Temple of Anubis. One of the few places hotter than where I am living currently in the summer. I think Egypt's hotter. I imagine it's hotter than Arizona.
I mean, it's parts of it are.
Yeah, for certain here. Temple of Anubis going to be on fire with gameplay at the very least. Haha, beautiful transition. Am I right, LaFawn? Casting mechanics. If I
give you credit, you'll be here all day. So
Tuna. Hello. Okay, I just was saying he was one-tricking the Genji. He says, you know what? You don't know me, Caster Man. I'll do what I want. What he wants to do now is come out on the Mei.
I wonder if he wants to come out on the Mei or if it's just a better pick overall in this situation. And it's tough to fault to the Mei pick here, right? The wall is so very strong. And of course, the area freeze where you can kind of force tanks to be out of position. But I think that wall is so critical, especially in such a slow-moving comps that we have these days. You can really buy yourself fight wins off the back of the Mei wall. But the gates open, Paul, and with Regen on their offense, they're looking to take that first push here on Temple of Anubis.
Well, and one good Mei deserves another, I guess. Ooh, good halt, comboing there with the wall. A lot of damage forced on to Regen there. They're going to be able to get into the room, though. No cheeky flanks. It's going to be a full push in through this tiny little choke. Sluggo goes down early somehow? Was he in front of the shield? How does that happen? Well, however it did, it allows Regen to just pretty much do whatever they want here on point out.
Cool ABC's, one of School ABC's signature heroes is actually Mei. Spending back all that time to where I believe he made the finals in a collegiate tournament, land tournament. But his Mei has been spectacular when it comes to the Mei wall specifically. As he's twice he actually got them in, first of all, to the dark room, but then also got that sectioned off the front line from the back line, got those pickoffs, and basically unlocked point A for free.
Up 2 for Magic 8-Ball as they walk into this fight just straight down the middle for Regen, not waiting this one out. Amplification Matrix going, giving Regen the ability to walk onto the point. Immortality feels a little low there, but he's gonna do enough work to keep Regen in this fight, and they're gonna be able to remove both light and the Bob combo with it. Now Cool ABC at Blizzard, but he gets stunned out of the animation! Not able to quite throw it off. Not able to quite get that presence on the objective, and sure, the kill feed is all red right now as Regen lighted up, but with the close respawn for Lunaris, they're going to be able to get another fight.
Top Bob here, they're going to keep going.
Well, I mean, you might as well when you're this close. You've already got nearly 2 ticks. Lava's back on the Wrecking Ball. Gravitic Flux gets 3. That's going to take out Volby 2. Easily make Noctis able to be cleaned up there. Now it's just stragglers. Tuna's looking for desperation in the back line, but School ABC on the Doomfist finding all the value right now. And one by one, Lunaris are coming out to stall, but they're not finding elimination.
No, they're not. The Gravitic Flux, I don't think is going to be enough here. And it is a matter of time now.
It's not a bad stall here from Lunaris. They managed to work over a minute and a half off of the clock, but one pick is not nearly enough. Come on, Regen, get it done already. Find the focus fire. Let's get moved on here. Or maybe Lunaris can start finding picks. You know, it's been a while since I saw anyone in the kill feed. Not gonna lie, Regen starting to stall out a little bit. They don't really have the ultimates they were working with earlier, nearly at the Gravitic Flux. Magic 8-Ball will go down, but it's still looking pretty good here for Regen in general.
Point is going to be cleared out by the minefield, so there is still a chance here though, Paul.
Yeah, and one by one, actually, finally those picks have come on board. Tuna swapping over to the Doomfist, able to get some work done. Ooh, health pack just barely picked up by Light. Now he's gonna get back in there. Lunaris has finally been able to stabilize. Are you kidding me? This has been over a 2.5 minute fight, but Lunaris hold on by the skin of their teeth.
There just wasn't there. Unable to clean out Volby on the Wrecking Ball. Unable to finish up Light, literally 1 second away from the full capture. And instead, it has all fallen apart, and that time has bled away. That's gotta hurt. Yeah. And that's gonna hurt mentally a little bit too. You were this close.
Well, you can come back in now. Only the Gravitic Flux to work with, and it's going straight to a sound barrier. Not the ideal
pulse bomb
of action here for Regen. Oh, that's not pulse bomb you were talking about. Light just easily slips it into the back line. Chopper goes down. Gravitic Flux out from the ship. But like I said, that sound barrier keeps it from finding too much value to it. It does get caught out though. Immortality Field is still forced on top of that sound barrier. I mean, the spawn, like I said earlier, it's just so close here. You need to get a clean fight win if you are Regen right now, and it is scrappy as can get. Slowly but surely, Regen are looking to stabilize, but they got to back up while doing so, and that's not the ideal direction.
Okay, so with lava going down, you have to reset here. That fight was another minute long, and you got not much out of it. The sound barrier, but you just built up the resources for Lunaris. And what once looked fantastic for Regen has slipped away, Paul. These have been just fights that you don't have a chance, and you're down one. This is Assault. This is Temple of Anubis B. You need a full 6 to take a fight here. And not having that, failing that, you're going to be in a really rough position. Regen, not out of time yet, but certainly a far cry from that 5-minute time bank you were working in.
Tons to work with for Regen now, though. And Chip, even though he used Druidic Flux to beat the last fight, already got another one. Pulse Bomb to the back, not going to find the same kind of value this time from like Blizzard this time doesn't get stunned from Cool ABC either. He's able to throw it down onto the objective, block up Volby. Somebody's got to finish it off. Okay, there we go. Volby will go down. Only one tick is needed here, and the Supercharger is going to give Regen more than enough to clean up the necessary players. Noctis can't even get to the point. But a 6-minute time bank whittled down to 55 seconds.
Score.
Good work from Lunaris, all in all.
And we were somewhat skeptical despite Regen being down one player, that they were going to be able to, that Lunaris would be able to pull off that full hold, or to pull off the hold, to pull off that stall. The absolute wizardry that came through by Light too, I think, coming in clutch, staying alive just in the right moment, getting the health pack, coming back in. But credit, I think, specifically to Noctis for being able to stall for so long on the Lucio. Between Volby and Noctis, just the sheer stall potential of the Lucio Wrecking Ball, keeping the point contested, starting that magical run back, and now putting quite reasonably Lunaris in a pretty healthy position to give themselves a chance in this series.
Hey. Attackers incoming.
And you know, Regen feel like once they got control of the point, they were maybe having a bit too much fun with it, you know? A lot of other teams there, well, I shouldn't say a lot of other teams. I should say, ideally speaking, once you lose a couple of members on that fight, you take the tick or two you got and go for a quicker reset, right? Instead, they swap over to a less than ideal composition with things coming out like the Doomfist, things like the Wrecking Ball, right? And those aren't nearly as powerful when they're piecemealed together as the composition they were running, so they lost a lot of time there.
That
Now
being
they
said,
have to play for a pretty nasty defense themselves.
McCree versus Ash here. Light is going to be, if they're getting close, Light's going to have some potential, but Chopper has the range advantage here for sure, especially the dynamite potential.
Light's just going to stick with his team, try to walk up through this choke. Volby on the Reinhardt. Gonna lose the shield war ultimately to an Orisa, but if you can get on top of Regen here, Lunaris, you will have a much better time. Chip getting walked on to immediately. Immortality forced out from CJ. As long as you keep your foot on the gas, Lunaris, you should have the advantage here. Volby trying to do exactly that, walking forward, taking a lot of damage. That the Immortality shield's gonna keep him in it, only for a moment. And then after Volby's gone, Pure follows him, as does the rest.
Yeah, this is actually better for Regen than it is for Lunaris, because that fight took a very long time, a minute plus, and despite ceding ground, the Regen never gave up point percentage. So they bleed time, built ult economy, and above all, didn't give anything away for that. Yes, Tuna is going to have this Blizzard, but getting in close to use it is going to be particularly difficult with the fact that the advantage now lies in Regen's hands.
That was a very good wall from Pure ABC. Very good kinetic grasp to match it from Pure, and now with all of the shield that Pure is working with,
They have to wait for the cooldown to restart.
ooh, amplification matrices traded here on the bridge. Both teams not willing to give up positioning. Good wall there from Tuna, though. Allows them to push forward. Blizzard on the board, too. Bomb not finding much from Chopper. He's immediately eliminated, but there's just so much to work with here for Regen. Rally, Druidic Flush. They're able to get it all. Lock down this objective yet again.
And critically, they don't actually, Cool ABC does not use the Blizzard here, so that is a very key part of this next engagement for Regen here. You know, they will be able to lock down a choke so long as Pure doesn't deny it with his kinetic grasp. That's really the difference maker here. You have to eat this Blizzard because that's going to win a fight by itself.
Ooh, Deadeye to engage here from Light. That's vicious. Dynamite there forces him into the room too, so he's not able to really find much there. Interesting rotation. We don't see many people go for this these days because you just cede the high ground and you get peppered on the objective once you drop down.
Oh, but you do have the high ground advantage, and Regen giving them opportunity to walk in.
Over there's that Blizzard. Will be getting locked up inside of it. Barely gets away. He just barely gets out of that Blizzard. Perfect. Stay alive though. He's on such a nasty flank. A sound barrier is going to keep him in the game. Light also looking for a cheeky angle here, but he can't play into the range game against Chopper. Maybe he can. As long as he keeps Chopper's attention, that's all you really need. One tick taken by Lunaris now. Looking for a second to get him for free. Only 35 seconds remaining as Regen try to go for this Regen test. Tuna's nearly at this Blizzard, but I'm not sure.
Lunaris needs a pick. Lunaris needs a pick right now.
They don't get it. No, Tuna's gone. He's not going to be able to use that Blizzard once Bulby's gone too. This is dire straits for Lunaris. Only 15 seconds to get back to the point.
It's hero play time. 10 seconds remaining. They need someone to contest. They're going up against the Gravitic Flux. Paul, I don't think they do it.
Pick starting from Light. That is great for them, but we need to actually trigger overtime to make it worthwhile. Bulby will get to the objective before he goes down. Gravitic Flux. Tuna gonna be able to cryo freeze out of it to keep himself alive, but Noctis isn't so lucky. Blizzard on the objective, but nobody's caught in it. Tuna not quite able to lock this down, and he's already used his own cryo freeze. It's just up to Pure to keep this alive, and he won't be able to do so. Bulby will get back to the point. Adaptive shielding will delay the inevitable, but it's only him and Noctis running around. Last time they were able to stall. It went so well for Lunaris, but they had the respawn advantage that time, and they are not allowed to pull off yet another overtime miracle. Regen will walk away with Temple of Anubis and the series to boot.
It's them, the undefeated streak here in our Prospect Cup, Paul. And Regen are first overall in groups in this side of things as Magic 8 Ball looking down. High mechanic gameplay.
Oh yeah, those left clicks, undeniably difficult to pull off, right? But kudos to Regen. We joke, but honestly, they looked clean all day, and the only time they even struggled was when they went for a bit of an odd composition with that double hit scan. Outside of that, this team looked, you know, indomitable.
Strong, yeah, certainly. And I think this, rather than answering questions I had coming into this about what the power level of these teams were, I'm left with more questions in a good way. I think there's going to be some very good gameplay from both Regen and Lunaris in the future, and I'm very excited to see what they bring because Regen has things on lock. They have the composition they want to run, and yes, there was that one aside where they play the double hit scan, but I think aside from that, they have their compositions on lock. Lunaris, a couple of moments here and there, and we could be talking about a very different series. So spectacular Overwatch in general. Very excited to see how they perform in the future. But for now, Regen takes the 3-1 victory in our group stage game.
Yeah, kudos to Regen. Lunaris, you know, you don't get to hold on to first, but second place ain't too bad either. Both these teams going to keep on going here in the Prospect Cup. We'll be back on Wednesday right here on the Elo Hell Twitch. So make sure you follow, you know, you go follow Twitter too. Make sure you know when everything is happening for Elo Hell. Thank you to the folks at Nocturnal for putting this on, and we can't wait for it to continue. So make sure you're here, same time, same place on Wednesday for the continuation of the Prospect Cup.